right. Well, it is 11:01 down here, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Officially welcome everybody. Many of you have joined our webinars before, so you know that we love to focus on practical strategies. We want to give you actionable takeaways that you can bring back to your team or that you can, take and do very, very quickly. And so that's why we put together today's session. We all know that having a full-blown AI search strategy is the ultimate goal, and what universities would love to have, but that's not necessarily always realistic with your resources, with your budgets. For some, having like a true full-blown AI search strategy is really a long-term goal, especially when administrators are asking for those results now, and you don't have time to like put all of that in place. But the good news is you can significantly improve your AI visibility based on what you're already doing. And in fact, turning your existing efforts into a cohesive strategy is really essential in AI search because so much of what you're already doing is impacting what the AI tools understand about you, your brand, and your programs. So over the next hour, we're going to show you how to make your existing marketing work smarter for AI search visibility. So what you can expect to learn in our time together today is first to create that consistent presence across the channels that AI evaluates. The second is to leverage those existing resources to boost your AI search visibility and how to enhance accuracy and credibility so prospective students are finding the correct program information in your AI-powered search results. And this is how we're going to get there. First, Emily is going to do an AI search research recap. So she's going to go through how prospects are searching and what does this mean for your strategy. Then Will and I are going to go into what it takes to show up in AI search at a high level. Then we're going to get more detailed. And so the rest of our presentation after that is going to get into some examples and some frameworks about how you can take those existing things that you're doing and turn them into individual powerful pieces that is going to influence your AI visibility. And the format is going to be a little bit different than a typical like slideshow webinar presentation. We organize the information into Q&A slides fueled by the real questions that we're hearing consistently from higher ed marketers and leaders just like you. So we want you to walk away with lots of answers to the questions that you're asking. And we also want you to put in your own questions. So these are the questions that we have gotten over the last year or so most frequently, but we would love for you to pile on with your questions as well. And you can put those into the chat or into the official Q&A box in Zoom, which you'll find in the toolbar. And you'll also see another button for resources in the toolbar. And so there are links to the full study that Emily is going to give you a little preview of. That's the AI search research study. There's also a link to our AI website grader. This is a free tool that Will actually built based on our expertise that will give you an instant evaluation of your program's AI visibility. And there's also a link to set up time for us to chat about your AI strategy if you want to speak directly with me about some ideas and like what you have going on at your university right now. So we're going to introduce ourselves. So if you haven't already, go ahead and drop in the chat where you're joining us from today. For those of you that I haven't met yet, and we actually have a lot of new names on our in attendees today, and so I'm happy to see some new faces here with us. Thanks for joining. So for those who I haven't met yet, I'm Paula French. I've spent the past 16 years helping organizations grow through digital marketing with a really big focus on search engine optimization. And most of that time, I was hands-on with clients executing and optimizing both SEO and paid advertising strategies. But now I focus on building new partnerships and helping institutions like yours find the right mix of those strategies to succeed online.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily. I'm here from UPCEA, where I'm part of the research and consulting team. I primarily focus on higher ed trends and specialize in workforce aligned programming. So I'm glad you could join us all today as we explore some of our recent research, and we'll highlight some practical takeaways for you that hopefully you can go out and apply.
Hey everybody, I've been working online for more than 30 years and leading Search Influence with my business partner for 20. I put my first website online in 1994 and have been focused on SEO since the early 2000s. For the last few years, I've been completely obsessed with AI tools, and how to get you found in this new discovery surface. Many of you know Search Influence, but what you might not know is that we're celebrating 20 years this year. We've earned some awards for our work, and we're very open about sharing our insights and expertise in podcasts, articles, and at conferences, both higher ed and digital marketing. We specialize in higher education, but we also work in other industries, including healthcare and hospitality, which we feel like gives us a broad perspective and the ability to apply those insights across verticals. We're proud to be a platinum partner of UPCEA, a Google Premier partner, and a certified woman-owned business. We offer flexible partnerships, whether that's full service, consulting, or a hybrid of those, and we're happy to support your in-house team in getting work done. We already said this at the very beginning, but for those of you that weren't here before we officially, called action, if you'll be at the annual conference next month, we'd love to see you in person. It's in our hometown, so we're going to be rolling deep. Paula and Allison, who's our director of account management, are going to be presenting with our clients LSU Online and Harvard's program on negotiation. I'll be part of the Insights and Innovation session where I'll share ideas for AI tracking and AI search visibility. And our Director of Operations, John Loebman, will moderate a panel on AI applications and student success. Uh, you will have to choose between Paula and me. Our sessions are both on the first day at 4 p.m. If you go see Paula's, which I recommend, let us know and we'll record a version of mine so you don't have to miss out.
Thanks, Will. We appreciate that.
And if you are in attendance, you'll definitely see me because I'll be working at the registration desk. So come by and say hello to those of us at UPCEA as well. So today we're going to be highlighting, as I said, some data from a joint research study between UPCEA and Search Influence. And we took the time to look at prospective student search behavior, and specifically their behavior when exploring professional and continuing ed programs. So I'll touch upon the key findings in just a moment. But as a good researcher, I wanted to set the foundation by explaining who exactly these prospective students are that we connected with. We surveyed adult career-focused prospective learners. And importantly, these individuals are not currently enrolled in an educational program. They are actually actively in the consideration phase. Most are full-time, and overall, this is a highly practical, career-oriented audience. We really wanted to ask them about their search behavior in general and also how they search specifically for educational programs. And the research that we'll share with you really captures how search engines and AI tools, video, websites all influence prospective student discovery and decision-making. What stood out immediately to us is just how mainstream AI-powered search has become, which probably is not a surprise at this point. But half of prospective students are using AI tools at least weekly to search for information, with 25% using it at least daily. And we expect that will only increase over time. So we're not talking about early AI adoption anymore. This is normalized search behavior. And for institutions, what this means is that AI is not a future consideration. It's already shaping how prospects gather information today. So if your brand is not visible in these tools or your strategy still assumes Google-only search behavior, you could be missing out on potentially reaching half of your audience. Now, despite the rise of AI, traditional search engines and university websites still play a dominant role, as you can see. Over half of prospects say that they're extremely likely or very likely to use Google or Bing, and they'll still go to your website to find trusted information and to convert. And social media also plays a strong supporting role. But what we're starting to see here is that students are just slightly more likely to use AI search engines and AI chatbots than they are to use social media to find information about educational programs. And even though they're not the top platforms yet, these chatbots and search engines are meaningful parts of the discovery process. So the key point is that when searching for professional and continuing ed programs, prospects are using multiple tools to generate search results. And with AI layered directly on top of those search results, that's what makes your AI visibility all the more important. And when I say AI layered on top of search results, this is what we mean here. Even when students use Google, the first thing they see is an AI generated answer or that AI overview. And this is already shaping trust and it's narrowing the options that are put in front of prospective students. So even though we know that students still rely on institutional websites, their first impression of your institution may actually come from this AI generated summary.
Yeah, and something that I want to highlight here. A lot of universities ask me about zero click, and this is part of the zero click phenomenon with the fact that people are staying on those search engine results and not clicking into the results. So, as much as click through rates have been impacted and organic traffic is down for some universities, not everybody, prospects do still have to go to your website. They're just less likely to click through these non branded search results now. And so they might be learning about you or being reminded of your brand through these searches. And then if you are entering their consideration set through that, they might not click today, but they're very likely to come back and do a branded search to get directly to your website. This is a really important change in user behavior. So a little pro tip to know if this could be the case for you, if people are doing those branded searches and coming directly to your site, is to look to see if there's an increase in visits to your homepage from organic search. Because usually when somebody does a branded search, their homepage is usually the thing that's going to rank. And so that's where you would see that in your data. I mean, you can also use Google Search Console, but this is just another way to do that. Back to you,
Our data,
Emily.
thank you. Our data shows that these AI overviews before people are even clicking on your site, they really matter. And they play an important role in brand perception and also in building trust. The vast majority of adult learners are engaging with those AI overviews. We found that 79% read the overview when it's presented. And then we also learned that 56% of prospects are more likely to trust the brands that are cited in those AI overviews. So the key point here is that trust is being formed before that first click, as Paula just pointed out. But the key is you have to be there. So your institution has to be in that AI overview in order to be considered by a student. And what makes that visibility particularly urgent right now or at this stage in their search is just how short that consideration list actually is. We know that learners don't evaluate dozens of schools or even 10 or 5. 67% of learners start with just 3 schools or fewer in that early consideration phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it's this stat. I just keep coming back to this stat and how much it makes the fact that you have to be visible early. If you're not visible early, you're really not going to be in the running for a prospective student. But the great thing about this, the positive side, is that AI really presents an awesome opportunity for your university in that way. So when you can be the AI answer, when you can appear, you have outsized influence over who ultimately is going to get chosen. So since most learners are only evaluating these, few schools very closely, if you can get that critical early mind share in the decision making process, that is going to make all the difference. So there's a concept in psychology that accounts for this. It's called the anchoring effect. And so when you are the first one that people see, you become the one to beat. And your prospect is then comparing all the other schools that they see to you and the standards that you have set. It's so, so, so powerful. And so that's why it is so important to get in their minds very early on. And, AI visibility is a way for you to do that.
Now, here's the last piece of behavioral data that I share with you. As search behavior expands, prospects are engaging with even more platforms. So they're expanding beyond Google and traditional search engines, and instead starting to use other platforms like they would use a traditional search engine. So 61% say that they use YouTube in the same way that they would use a traditional search engine. 50% say that same thing about AI tools. And just over a quarter are using platforms like Instagram or Reddit or TikTok to complete their searches. So your strategy needs to follow your audience wherever they're looking across all of these platforms. But the good news is that building visibility across these platforms also doubles as supporting your AI search visibility. And that's what Paula and Will are going to dig into a little bit right now.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah, so I think that was all of those stats really can help you make the case to leadership or to your coworkers about why you need to be focusing on AI visibility. The full study has a lot of different, has the data spliced in a lot of different ways and additional data points that could be helpful for that as well. But we know that you really want to know, okay, you're here because you probably know that AI visibility is important and you want to know what we need to do about it. So let's get into what it really takes to show up in AI overviews and AI tools. To break it down really simply, AI systems need enough consistent information to recognize and describe your institution with confidence. So they need enough consistent information to recognize and describe your institution with confidence. So let's break that down a little bit more. AI systems are generating answers based on patterns that they've seen across large volumes of content. So that's content on your own website, as well as the millions of other sites that are out there. So AI is more likely to surface your university or your programs for a topic that you care about when your institution appears more often and more consistently across the web in relation to that topic. Under the hood, getting a little bit technical, these systems are predicting what's most likely to come next based on patterns that they have seen before. And so over time, repetition about your brand shapes how AI understands and describes your programs. So, how do you really create that repetition? That's where AI SEO comes in, and we break that down into three pillars. For years, we talked about SEO as keywords, content, and links. Our approach to AI SEO is updated to account for how LLMs read and understand the web and your brand. So the first pillar of AI SEO is entities. Entities help AI recognize your brand, programs, and thought leaders through clear, consistent language and structured data. The second pillar is semantic relevance, which, if you're optimizing for semantic relevance, you're optimizing for meaning rich content that reflects how people really search. So nowadays, that's answering questions, and you're also connecting related topics, like connecting blog posts to your program pages and providing helpful context. The third is citations. So universities must build brand level and program level trust through mentions and references from authoritative sources. So these are things like local and national media, best of lists, and credible industry sites.
A question we get a lot is, how do I make sure my content shows up in AI? The more technical pages like course catalogs and schedules are usually fine. The ones that need the most help are often those that are trying to tell a story: program pages, articles, and blogs. There are a few themes worth calling out. Clarity. AI responds best when content clearly names what a program is, who it's for, and what outcomes look like. Vague or marketing-heavy language tends to get skipped over. Structure. Content that's well organized with clear heading sections and summaries is easier for AI to extract and understand. And finally, credibility. Mentions, references, and signals of authority reinforce trust. If you think about content like this, you'll be more likely to get included. Once your content is clear and structured, authority gets reinforced through references across the web. One of the great things about higher ed websites is that you have a lot of built-in authority, but there's still value in assuring that the individual authors and programs have their own authority. Some of your tried and true methods of promotion are also great for AI. You just need to be intentional about the language you use. Each mention reinforces how your institution and the people in it are understood. These references add up and shape how AI systems recognize and describe you. So ask yourself before you hit submit or send, does this clearly indicate what we do and for whom?
Thank you, Will. And we're going to get into some examples of what that really looks like in just a minute. So now we're really entering the part where we're getting into those examples and frameworks that I mentioned. And this is the goal of this is to really help you leverage your existing marketing to drive your AI visibility. And as I said at the beginning, we've got this information organized by questions that we have gotten directly from your peers as well as from you in the registration survey. So Emily is going to moderate this, ask us the questions, and Will and I are going to answer.
All right, Paula, this one's for you, and you set it up well when you were talking about examples. Can you share some examples of the way we should write our program pages for AI?
Yes, let me show you the before and after of a couple of different angles. So I'm going to get into some specifics as well as a little bit of high level stuff. So the first example is how we rewrote a program page with these AI best practices that Will just went into. So it's really common for program pages to have generic marketing language that doesn't really tell you much. And so the biggest change you'll see here is moving away from that vague language to clearly stating what the program does and how it applies in a professional context. And so this matters because AI can't interpret phrases like multifaceted benefits. It needs to know exactly what those benefits are. So the example on the screen, you'll see the before, it says earning a graduate certificate in expressive arts therapy offers multifaceted benefits. And after, we're saying specifically, this certificate from this college provides focused training in a certain thing that's used in a certain way. So we remove that vague language, defined what the program actually does, added the real world context of that non-clinical setting, and then we've got the university, the degree name, and what it offers, all closely aligned in one sentence. Our next example focuses on how we define the audience in our content. So Will said the thing like, who is it for? This is you're truly defining who the audience is in your content. So instead of broad career language, we're naming exactly, like I said, who this program is for. That's critical because both users and AI are trying to match content to a specific type of person, not just a general idea. So the before, we're saying enhances resume credentials, makes individuals more competitive in fields such as counseling, education, social work, and healthcare. And after, we're specifically calling out this is for educators, artists, and human services professionals who want to lead arts-based experiences in their current roles. So we've named the exact audience, we've shifted from that generic career boost language to practical use case, and we align with how prospects self-identify. Right, now going a little bit higher level. So our final content example, for our final content example, we had the opportunity to build out area of interest pages for LSU Online. So at the time, before we dove into this process, these pages had a really, they were basically like simple placeholder pages where you could search for all of the business degrees and programs, basically just a holding space, not really something designed to perform per se. We recognize this as a really important opportunity. So this type of page is exactly where you can capture high level search intent, both in traditional search and increasingly in AI driven search. And so think about somebody searching something really broad like online business degrees. They're not looking yet for one specific program. They're exploring different types of online business degrees. And so this page becomes a logical entry point. It's a place where both users and AI expect to land. They can understand their options here and then navigate deeper. But in its original state, the page wasn't giving really enough structure or context to really support that. So we collaborated with their team to turn it into a page that could actually compete for and capture the demand for such an important keyword of online business degrees. So here are some key elements of the new page. So the page itself is a clear program hub. This helps AI understand how all the programs relate to each other, not just having all of these individual isolated program pages on the site. Second, we define the program pathways in the content. So we're talking about undergrad, grad, certificates. So AI can confidently categorize and recommend the right options to the audience. And then third, we made the messaging much more audience explicit. So like in the previous example, when we talked about naming specifically who that's for. So instead of that broad language, we clearly state who it's for, which helps AI match the content to specific user queries. And we also focused on scannable structured content. So we broke the information into sections that AI can extract, summarize, and surface. And finally, we strengthened the conversion flow because the really AI-driven experiences are increasingly guiding users towards action, not just information. They want to drive people to actually making a decision. So the shift from that broad descriptive copy to structured, explicit AI-readable content that can be surfaced, summarized, or recommended by AI search platforms, if you will.
Thank you, Paula. Those were great examples. Now I'm going to hand it over to Will. This question's for you. What tactics are higher ed marketers already doing that impact their AI search visibility?
So basically, everything. Everything about you online impacts what AI understands about your programs. You have way more control over your AI visibility than you realize. You produce and publish so much, you have many opportunities to influence what AI says about you. Of course, there's your own site, program pages, blog posts, articles, newsroom, your homepage. Then there's other websites, like Paula mentioned before, social, YouTube. I'm going to put an exclamation point next to YouTube because it's not just the second most used search engine, it's also typically among the top handful of AI citations. News sites, appearances, directories, best of lists, even mail and paid ads campaigns can help. They tell users how to search for you, right? Because those same ways that you're talking about what we do and for whom, if you're doing that within your email and ads, you can actually start to influence search. Start with what you own, your own website, make sure it's findable and readable, and then move forward from there.
And Will, what direction should we give our PR team to help us with AI search?
Yeah, this is a really good one. Um, there's three tactics that already work. The use of consistent language, pick one phrase per program and use it everywhere. Site, brochure, ads. Conflicting descriptions can confuse the AI systems the same way they confuse prospective students. Um, use the semantic triple. I don't think we've talked about that yet here, but we talk about it a lot, and that is the form of subject, predicate, object, and it's, school offers program for audiences. And that structure is how AI extracts and repeats claims about you. So the more you can mimic that, the better. So for instance, we offer an accelerated BSN for working adults beats 5 paragraphs every time. And loop in your PR teams, whether they're within your department or somewhere else in the organization. Uh, Share your priority phrases. If they're already going out to the press, if they're already publishing pieces on behalf of your institution, the more they can reference your semantic triples, the better.
So we heard in the beginning through our data that social media is still important. So Paula, this question is for you. What should we be doing in social media to support AI search?
Yes. So you want to think about your social media in the same way that you think about publishing content on your own website. Each post should really feel like its own small standalone article. So social is a really great place where you can reinforce that language that Will talked about, along with your perspective and the signals that you want AI to associate with you. And so an easy way to do this is by turning a blog post or a program page into a carousel post or a YouTube video, and so you're essentially taking the same information and presenting it in that native format, the format that is native to that platform. So people don't have to click through to your website. So you can do this on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, really any platform where the audience is active and that is crawled by Google and the AI engines. You may know that in the last 6 months, Instagram made their platform crawlable. It was not crawlable before. Instagram posts did not rank on Google. Now they do. So that's a really big change. I mean, from our perspective, the reason they did that was so that AI engines could get into all of their Instagram information and surface that stuff in AI answers. And so the goal of publishing on social is it gives you a place that you can consistently republish and reinforce your content, your perspective, and those semantic triples, like Will said, across those channels.
So Will, with AI surfacing answers, what do we do if we start to see incorrect information about our programs or our university in those AI answers?
Yeah, this is a real challenge. Um, the Do you want to pull up that next slide, Paula?
Sorry, Will. There we go.
Thanks. Um, Treat it like a citation problem, not a PR problem. AI systems pull from what's published. Find the source of the bad information, outdated page, third-party directory, old press release, and fix it. If you can't find the source, publish something better. A clear, authoritative page that directly answers the questions AI is getting wrong. Repeat the correct information across a few independent sources so the new signal outweighs the old one. For persistent errors on ChatGPT or Gemini, Both have feedback mechanisms, but don't count on them as your primary fix. The content is the fix. It's not uncommon for that incorrect information to actually come from your own university website. The good news there, that's an easy fix. Update it and wait for the machines to find it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's surprising how many people I've talked to have said that they have, incorrect information out there. And I ask, where do you think that comes from? And they say, well, we think we have some old pages on our site that has that information on it. I said, all right, well, we got to get rid of that and make sure that the correct information is there. Because if you don't say the correct information on your site, that's when they go out to those third party references to look for that. And that's why it's really important to make sure you're, to use a PR term, controlling the narrative.
So speaking of updating old information, Paula, should marketers be updating old blog posts?
Yes, and really, it's both old blog posts as well as going back and updating like your program pages. Specifically, though, about old blog posts, it's really one of the highest impact things that you can do right now. And so, updating that existing content really does three important things. One is you're improving content freshness, which is important to both search engines and AI. They favor content that is current and maintained. So if a page hasn't been touched in years, it's less likely, a lot less likely, truly, to be surfaced and trusted. The second is that it gives you an opportunity to expand your topical authority. So when you're revisiting that old post, you're adding depth, you're clarifying answers, you can connect to related topics. And so really you're bringing in all of those best practices that we've talked about around tailoring your content towards AI. And then, so with that, you're really aligning your content with AI search behavior. And so the older blog posts were probably written for the old, like keyword search mentality. And so now you can rewrite it with those real answers to direct questions. You can be really clear, be really structured, and you can provide that, complete useful information so that AI has all of that meat to pull from when they are providing answers either about your university directly or using your university's information as a source to answer a different question, like a non-branded question.
And how often do you think people need to be going back and revisiting old content and doing those updates?
As a general rule, for updating evergreen content, twice a year is a good baseline. And it may be that there's nothing new, but at a minimum, you should give it a look. Um, some pages, though, especially program or schedule pages, should be reviewed more frequently. For those more time-sensitive pages, aim to update them quarterly to keep everything accurate.
So, well, here's an important question for you. How should I position AI search internally to get buy-in from stakeholders?
Yeah, that is a good question. Um, the the thing is, you've got to reframe the conversation, right? I think it's not a new channel. That's part of the challenge is that we're trying to get people to buy into this new idea. Um, it's really just how search works now. Your prospective students are already using it. The question is whether your institution shows up in those answers. When you bring this to leadership, lead with data they can see. Pull an AI overview for your flagship program. Show them what ChatGPT says when someone asks them about it. That screenshot is worth more than any stat. Then layer in your own numbers, visits from AI referrals, visibility trends, inquiry volume. Make it real before you make it strategic. An UPCEA snap poll that just ran, I think, before the new year, found that competing priorities was the top reason institutions weren't moving forward on this. That's what happens when it gets framed as optional. So reframe each objection directly. Add-on loses the budget fights. How search works now doesn't. New budget triggers procurement. Better use of what we're already spending on content and PR doesn't. Nice to have gets cut. Our competitors are already showing up in these answers and we are not, doesn't. Make it concrete, make it competitive, and make it theirs to fix.
All right, my last question, this is for each of you to answer. What is the one thing you would do to kickstart AI search visibility?
Well, you
You
want to
know,
go first?
yeah, sure. The old saying, what gets measured gets managed. First, identify where you are. The you may not have enough data to realize exactly how far behind you are. Uh, the other thing that I think is critically important, and in addition to talking to you all, I also teach the SMX GEO masterclass, and oftentimes we'll have people put up their websites for us to look at in that class, and I'll discover that the page that they want to have rank or show up in AI doesn't even show up in Google because they've blocked it with robots.txt or something. So if you don't have your SEO house in order, it's unlikely that you're going to get found in LLMs either.
Mhm. Yeah, you've probably heard us say this in other presentations. We really didn't focus on this today, but there is a major, major um, crossover in SEO and AI SEO. I mean, we started calling like traditional SEO foundational SEO because it really is the foundation of what you need to do in order for both Google and the AI engines to find you. And because of the fact that so much search is still happening on Google, it is so important. So essentially ranking organically, being found organically is the first step to getting in Google's AI overview, like hands down, 100% for sure. And search it's not like everybody went from Google to ChatGPT or to Gemini. They have brought in, they've brought in, sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. Oh, goodness. Everybody did not move over to the AI engines. They have pulled it into their search behavior, and it's something that they're using in addition to Google. Google has really not lost much market share. Everybody kind of like freaked out when Google went below 90% market share. They've gone back above that. It was really like it was a small amount of time that really did happen. Oh, I did not answer the question for me, which is the number one thing that I would do is to add FAQs to either your program pages or your blog posts. That we kind of joke that adding FAQs is really like the easy button for AI optimization. And so a great place to find the questions that you would want to answer, being a little bit technical, would be going into Google Search Console to find the queries that are related to that piece of content, or whether that's a program page or a blog post. But a less technical way to do that would be to talk to your advisors and say, what are the things that people are asking about to your recruiting team, and ask them what are the things that people are asking about and put that information on those pages. All right, we do have a question, and I'm going to do a couple of wrap up items before we get to the questions from the Q&A section. So to wrap things up, if you haven't already downloaded the AI Search Research Study, grab it under the resources panel. You'll also find our AI website grader there, as well as that link to book time on my calendar. So Search Influence can help your team, as Will mentioned in the morning earlier. We can provide both strategic and tactical SEO support. So we're really, really flexible in the way that we work with universities. But ultimately, the value is giving you the capacity, the expertise, and the momentum to implement everything that we have talked about today. So it doesn't just sit on someone's to-do list for the next year. So you can get a conversation going with us by booking from the booking link in the resources, or you can just go to workwithsi.com and that'll bring you to the same place. And we'll figure out together what the right next step is for you based on where you are today. We are also hosting AI Search Strategy Labs next week. We have many of you are also registered for those. So that is going to be small group sessions where you can receive free direct coaching from me and Will on your university's specific challenges. You can also hear what other universities are dealing with and hear what advice we're giving them. There is still a chance to sign up for those if you haven't already. Our team just dropped that into the Zoom chat. And so in those sessions, we're really going to be focused on what you want to learn. So please come prepared with a couple of questions specific to you and your university, as well as any follow-up questions that you have from today. All right, so let's see. Question in the chat, Will, I'll direct this to you, is should our metadata also incorporate the semantic triple of the school offers program for audience format?
So the answer to this is a little bit funny. The short answer is yes, but not because it's going to really help with AI search. The reason that you want to do it is because the primary value of your meta description on your web pages these days is for human consumption. It's effectively your call to action after the title tag, which is getting rewritten potentially by Google, according to some recent news releases. But the meta description, its big value is that it's how you buy the click. So I definitely think that, especially in the context of, you know, we offer a BSN program for working adults. Um, if they see that in the meta description, they'll know that it's worth the click. So I still think it's inherently valuable. Let's get some more questions in there, y'all, or even throw them in the chat, which is totally okay too.
Well, another one that that I'm asked a lot is how long does it take to start seeing impact from these changes?
Uh, you know, the classic answer in digital marketing is it depends. Uh, and it depends on a lot of the same factors that it depended on when you're talking about traditional SEO. One primary difference, and we've talked about this in other webinars, but we didn't in this one, is the different ways that AI surfaces information. The an LLM in the purest sense is using its training data to execute a mathematical equation that tells it what the next word or pixel ought to be, right? So my example du jour is, why did the chicken cross the Atlantic, right? It's not going to happen. So when you think about what is the most likely next word, that's where it becomes really important to be in the training data. And to the question of how long it's going to take, the training data is a lot harder to affect and is not refreshed in real time. Now, any query or prompt that requires more real-time data uses a system called retrieval augmented generation, where first the platform, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or even Google, though there's a nuance there, will first execute a search, actually multiple searches, because they do this thing called query fan out, and they'll execute a bunch of searches, gather live information, and then correlate that with what's in their actual LLM data. I apologize if that's really technical. The nuance here is that where Perplexity and Claude and ChatGPT are doing a live search to assemble those query fanouts from which they're going to start to put the stuff together. Um, Google is using, as you might imagine, the Google search index, which is much fresher and much more live. But this is part of the reason why freshness matters as well in your content. So it can take a while, but if it's something where it absolutely requires freshness, it can take an instant. I've seen some great examples of people using very authoritative and highly active sites like LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and they're able to actually show up in the AI overviews in particular overnight.
So here's a question from Cherie. What's the best ways to start to measure our AI visibility?
So what I would say is, who's ever currently doing your analytics and tracking, ask them if the tools that they're using have these things built into them. It's a great starting point. They're not as robust as some of the pure AI tracking tools. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We have used historically for rank tracking a tool called Advanced Web Ranking. They have started to integrate AI tracking as well. We also use SEMrush, and I know a lot of folks use SEMrush or their primary competitor, Ahrefs, and both of those have started to integrate AI tracking as well. So you can use the tools that you've been using, or there are a whole bunch of new pure play tools out there The one that we've actually integrated into our tracking is from a company called Scrunch. But we have on the Search Influence website, there's a blog that we refresh monthly that we are segmenting by what they're best for, whether they're tracking or actually enablement. And if you search influence AI tracking tools, you'll find it, and it's a great resource. And we really are. This was a question that I had myself after I did my first SMX GEO masterclass. And so we're going to refresh this. And I have people reaching out weekly to say, hey, can you add us to this list? And we're trying to make it better and more robust.
Thanks, Will. And Francis linked that in the chat for us of the
Cool.
top AI SEO tracking tools.
Thanks,
All right,
Francis.
so yeah, we have a question from Rachel. So she said, how would you beef up content to improve AI visibility without just generating word salad? How do you
That,
valuably beef it up?
so I think if you want to so okay, let me start at the top. There are a few devices, and I mean like rhetorical devices, if you will, that are really helpful. The first is a quick synopsis, kind of like a TLDR at the opening of each piece of content, or condensed what you're going to learn here. That's great. That really helps the AI machines to kind of categorize where you belong in the search journey. The other thing that we have found helpful, because the AI machines in particular only index so much content, is to add a table of contents to each page of content. Because that table of contents, especially if it's apparent high in the code, can help get the machines deeper into your content for the actual questions that need to be answered. The third one, which Paula mentioned as her like number one, the easy button, is add a frequently asked questions to each page, and then make sure that that's represented in schema, which is the language underneath your page that has a specific frequently asked questions component. And then, so those are the devices that are kind of like after the fact. But then go back through your content and ask yourself, is it clear enough? And is it phrased as a question and an answer? I think that, and obviously this is you want to not do this to the extreme, but perfect from an AI perspective is your heading, your H2 or H3, asks the question as you would imagine the user did. It's answered by a single kind of topic sentence of very clear, this is the answer, and then it's followed by context. The context to make it understandable what you mean in that answer. But if you do the TLDR at the top, table of contents, FAQ, and then just go through and, to your use of the term word salad, eliminate the typical website marketing word salad, you'll be off to a great start.
Thank you, Will. All right. Okay, Lauren asked about what metrics to look at to see search behavior. We had mentioned zero click is a thing with AI overviews. How can you know if users are using AI to see your brand but clicking through later? So that really Will's explanation about all the various tools and how you can leverage or measure, excuse me, your visibility in AI search, all of that would do that. You can track brand keywords or brand prompts. You can also search non-branded prompts. And you probably want to do both of those things. This kind of depends on your goals. And then the specific way I said earlier to see if people are coming back and searching your brand and coming through to your homepage would be to look at organic traffic for people entering through your homepage. So in Google Analytics, that's landing page of your homepage with the channel of organic traffic. And then Lauren also asked, what third-party websites would you prioritize focusing on out of the list of citations you shared?
Um, my absolute top uh four, kind of made up that number right this second, are um are YouTube, Instagram, Reddit, and then niche directories. So, for instance, there's the one that doesn't call itself niche, right? It's really
Niche.
niche.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so you want to think about like where does it make sense where does it make sense to show up among your peers so that you're in the set that's understood. Um, but the great thing, and this is so I think a lot of schools use YouTube quite a lot, also use Instagram quite a lot. And so the small change that you can make in your behavior is when you think about the description that you're writing for YouTube, think semantic triple, right? Think about how you co-site, if you will, your brand with the thing that you do and for whom. And if you can do that in all of those places, those are some really great starting points. The one that we don't talk enough about, but that does show up quite a lot is Reddit. And I know, Reddit can be a big, scary place, but the one thing that I've advised everybody to do is if you do nothing else, claim your brand on Reddit and start publishing there as an adjunct to your blog or other socials. And that way you actually have your brand out there and it's taking advantage of the strength of Reddit while not necessarily wading into the melee that can be the subreddits.
All right, that's all the questions that we've
There was
got.
actually
You see one
Lauren,
more?
who
Oh, thank you. All right,
who needs a
go
gold
ahead.
star, just threw another one in there, which
All
is
right.
how important are Google reviews for AI? Um, short answer, short answer, all reviews are good for AI. Google reviews are great in the context of Google, but they also get ingested. I think when I've looked at ChatGPT and Perplexity in particular, they tend to pull third-party reviews more than they pull Google reviews. But because your Google business profile is something that you have ultimate control over, it's a great way to steer the conversation. And something we've talked about in local SEO for the last, I don't know, 18 years is if you can get those reviews to support your who you are and what you do where, then they help to guide the perception of the AI machines as well.
Thank you, Will. All right. Will, to close us out, will you share a little bit about the future of agentic, the agentic internet, and why this is so important to do this to prepare for when the machines are the user?
There's somewhere between now and Skynet, we're all going to start interacting with the internet in a much more mediated way. Today, we're searching, we're prompting, we're still very much in that kind of search methodology, though what we're seeing is that the length of queries are getting longer and longer, even when they're on a traditional search engine. But what's coming next, and by next I mean like, a couple of weeks ago next, is there are platforms where you can express a need and they will do the work to get you all the way to the point of transaction. The ChatGPT has been testing with this for a while. There's one that a lot of people weren't talking about until Meta bought them called Manus, and these are agentic platforms. The reason that these are such a let's call it opportunity is that they are doing all of the research in the background and delivering to you only a finite, very small set of potential responses, sometimes only one. And and the you know, Claude has launched in the last 3 or 4 weeks a bunch of features where you can actually talk to Claude living on your desktop from your phone. And so it can go and it can scan through your email for you. It can write a document for you all on your desktop or laptop machine, but you're activating it from Slack or some other channel. There's another product that's gotten a huge amount of noise in my circles. I don't know how, I mean, Wall Street Journal wrote an article about it, and Jensen Huang talked about it in his NVIDIA keynote. So it's getting some play called OpenClaw. And what OpenClaw is it's basically a chat interface to any AI feature that you want. And similar to the stuff that Claude just released, it has for the last couple or 3 months had the ability to take physical control of your computer and do things for you. So I believe really strongly that within 18 months, whether they're using it or not, everyone will have the ability to engage with agentic AI through the device which is most local to them, right? Which is this. So this. So I think that the everything we're talking about in the context of AI search is the scaffolding for agentic search. If the machines can't understand who you are and what you do, and the human isn't in the loop as it is today, then you are absolutely invisible. It will be binary in the extreme. You show up or you don't. Was that scary enough, Paula?
Thanks. Didn't mean to scare everybody today, but so we will be sending out this recording if you want to go back and rewatch any of it, if you want to share it with individuals within your organization or outside, feel free to share it around. Our emails are usually easy to find, but pfrench at searchinfluence.com, wscott at searchinfluence.com. Happy to answer any questions. And if you want to book some time to chat with us, that's workwithsi.com. Thanks everybody for coming to hang out with us today, and we will see y'all hopefully in New Orleans for annual or on the next webinar.
Or if you want to go super deep, sign up for the GEO Masterclass. It's coming up on the 14th of April. And it's going to be like a geek fest beyond your wildest dreams.
You bet. Can't miss that. All right. Bye, y'all. Have a great day.